So, unfortunately, we do have to sort of get a little bit more serious, and it's all about Alec Baldwin crying like a little bitch. But he is. Let this guy. He shot someone. He shot two people. One of them's dead. He's now charged with involuntary manslaughter, and he's seeking to dismiss the prosecutor because he claims her being a Republican will lead to an unfair trial, even though the district attorney is a Democrat.
Oh yeah.
So
if a Democrat was in that position,
that'd be fair.
Be an unfair trial?
No, that would be. Of course, that would be fair. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So, but there's two interesting elements here. It's not just that; it's also that we got brand new charges from Helena Hutchins' family. Now it's the mother. It's the mother and it's the parents basically, and sister. The widower have actually settled with Alec Baldwin. So Helena Hutchins' husband, the widower, settled with Alec Baldwin, but we never heard from the parents or the other family, and they're now filing a suit against Alec Baldwin. So we'll get to that. Well, let's just touch on this first, because this is just baffling. I don't get it. When I do get it, this is just him clutching at straws to get it thrown out.
Yes.
Alec Baldwin obviously filed a motion to disqualify the special prosecutor assigned to take him down, basically, regarding his accused involuntary manslaughter of Rust cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the grounds that her right-leaning political affiliation makes her appointment unconstitutional by New Mexico law. Laughable. So let's get to exactly what was stated. And it's here. So this is by his attorney.
Honestly, it might help him more than it would hurt him. But anyway, let's hear what they have to say here.
Yeah. Under Section 1 of Article 3 of the New Mexico Constitution, a sitting member of the legislature may not exercise any powers properly belonging to either the executive or judicial branch. As a special prosecutor, Representative Reeb is vested by statute with all the powers and duties of a district attorney who is considered to be a member of either the judicial or executive branch of the New Mexico government. So it further says, because of her political affiliation, potential influence on her colleagues in the legislature could thwart any efforts to legislatively foreclose a prosecution that has been widely criticized as unjust and unprecedented. No one's saying that. Alec, mate, no one's saying it's unjust or unprecedented. No, literally no one. Well, barely anyone. Who's saying that? Even if she recuses from votes on her own compensation, her clout with her colleagues on other matters could wittingly or not encourage them to maintain funding for her position. Were the arrangement here approved by the courts, future district attorneys could seek to curry favor with legislators who control their budgets by appointing them to high-profile cases, distorting the legislative process. Yeah, and it continues. So this is the footnote element, right? Baldwin would go on to suggest that Reeb could potentially be pressured into making prosecutorial decisions that benefit her own legislative interests, basically saying she's compromised. Prosecuting a prominent defendant associated with an opposing faction within the legislature, even in the face of conflicting evidence or law. And even if she does not allow her legislative interest to influence her prosecutorial choices, this is the hilarious part, the perception of bias could diminish public confidence in the fairness of the criminal process. The legal question is not a close one. She must be disqualified. Well, hold on a minute. How are you going to get unbiased? What? I think dismissing her and getting swapping someone else would make people lose public confidence, right?
Yeah.
Dickhead? Like, what is going on here? Like, is this not laughable?
Can I? It's an interesting question. If you scroll up to like I think 3 paragraphs before where they outline the law or try to,
this part,
yeah.
Let me shuffle on because this gets funnier because we get the district attorneys, the Santa Fe district attorney's office. Robert Schilling dropped in here and says the first rule of gun safety is never to point a gun at someone you don't intend on shooting.
100%.
Right? Who also said, because this is the important thing about why they're being charged, which is obviously, you know, you've got to weigh it up against with this new motion to dismiss someone, right? Because this is the district attorney's Democrat, and obviously they're trying to get it acquitted on the, not acquitted, but thrown out or whatever, get the person removed because of political affiliations. So they're saying they've been accused of involuntary manslaughter and the commission of a lawful act. Why? Well, because the first rule of gun safety is never to point a gun at someone you don't intend on shooting. So that's a very hard line gun safety, which is true anyway. You should always do that. Who also noted that the actor should have assumed the gun he was handed contained live rounds. Schilling also pointed out how Baldwin neglected to undergo required firearms training prior to the commencement of filming, even after Hannah Gutierrez Reed, the armorer, requested more training. So there's that element. So that becomes really difficult as to why, like, you can see why no motion to remove someone from the case is going to help him in this situation in terms of why they're at least trying to get them done for involuntary manslaughter. So we have this. So Baldwin previously said to Chris Cuomo that his role as producer precluded him from being held legally responsible. But Schilling says no. As the producer of a firearms-intense film, evidence shows that Baldwin allowed, through acts or omissions, the hiring of inexperienced and unqualified armorer Hannah Gutierrez Reed for this production, failed to mitigate or establish more precautions to protect against Hannah Gutierrez Reed's inexperience, or failed to demand the minimum safety standards, protocols, and requirements on set. Which, that's what I was saying from the start. He was influential in getting the film even off the ground. So there's that. There was something else funny in this as well. So in regards to Baldwin and Hannah Gutierrez Reed charged for involuntary manslaughter, the DA, Carmack Altwee, says, for this charge to be proved, there must be underlying negligence, which if there can be proof that Hannah Gutierrez Reed was like, we need more training, you haven't attended training, we need more training, that's negligence straight away.
Yeah.
Straight away, that's negligence. And under New Mexico law, involuntary manslaughter is a 4th-degree felony, punishable by 18 months in jail and $5,000 fine. This charge also includes the misdemeanor charge of negligent use of a firearm, which would likely merge as a matter of law. And then and there's like a 4th-degree felony punishable. So there's the other charge, basically, which is the involuntary manslaughter in the commission of a lawful act, which does have a 5-year. This goes back to what you were saying, Tom, is the 5-year jails. I mean, then he's never going to see jail time.
He'll
get purged even if he were to get sentences. Well, like that's the thing. Yeah.
I don't think that'll happen. But I think they'll set it aside. I think they'll set aside the term in favor of like probation. But you're right, Nate. It's more than simple negligence. If he just walked away from the firearms safety training that he should have taken, that's willful negligence. Yeah.
Well, so it's not even that, right? Like, so he was the producer on the film and he was there on set.
Right.
A day before this all happened, the crew walked off and they had to get what was it? Non-union
like scab unit.
That was the one. Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't think of the term. Non-union. Yeah. Non-union crew come in because the whole crew walked off because they had been saying this is unsafe. You guys are shooting with these guns after hours, and a gun went off randomly as well. This is not safe. Let's stop. And no one did anything. He's the active producer on set doing nothing about this. If that's documented, I mean, that's straight away negligence, as well as what you just said, culture.
Yeah.
So real bad.
Yeah.
Real bad.
Yeah. So I think it'll be rather soft, like Tom suggests, but I don't think it's going to be as soft as Tom suggests. I think there'll
be something.
Yeah.
But he'll get purged or whatever. Here's the thing is,
or be on house arrest or something.
Yeah. You have Gutierrez, who's the main person that they should be looking at, and another person they haven't even brought up once, and that's probably because they also got hit with the bullet, and that is the director. Nobody once has brought up the fact that the director is the captain of the ship here. Why weren't they involved in any of this? Because
they're not involved in this. It's the actual it's the assistant director, second AD.
But that's the thing, is they should be.
But he already pleaded. He's not, though, because he's not part of the safety. So the second AD was actually influential in it, and he's pled guilty to certain elements of this already. So he's done and dusted. The director's not involved now.
And as part of the plea deal, what else happened with that?
You'll have to remind me.
He's slated to testify in this negligent homicide.
Oh, has he? Oh, I didn't realize that. Well, there you go then.
Yeah, and I have a feeling.
So he's throwing everybody else under the bus, basically.
Well, I think Hannah's probably going to take a deal too. I mean, if I were her, I would, and then that sets the hook further into Baldwin. And again, I mean, if you're looking for the biggest fish you can catch, if you're a DA, and you're looking for the attorney most likely to get that done. So here, that's why they're gunning for this attorney, and they're really literally, as Nate suggested, pulling at strings, because a sitting member of the legislature may not exercise powers properly belonging to either the executive or judicial branch. In as much as in form and effect, she would be doing neither in the prosecution. So I'm not certain that argument will land with any judge. But good on you, good try, kid.
Yeah. So I don't think that's going to go down very well. Ultimately, let's put it that way. Yeah. But then we have this situation because again, I mean, I understand why they're doing it.
Yeah,
because it's interesting because no one had heard about this side of the family. We'd only heard from the husband and the son, and they settled. They were like, "I don't hold anything against them." Early
on in the beginning when the story first broke, part of the conversation did involve her family, but it went mum after that. It was in the AP's coverage, going back to the original stuff. Yeah, if I remember properly.
Yeah. So, well, basically, Alec Baldwin, another lawsuit in connection with with obviously the fatal shooting. It's Helena Hutchins' parents and sister. They said this on Thursday, so it's like breaking news today. Russ Movie Productions and other productions company, including Eldorado Pictures, Thomasville Pictures, Brittany House Pictures, and Short Porch Pictures, involved with a low-budget Western, were also named in the complaint. In addition to armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, assistant director David Halls, props master Sarah Zachary, and ammunition supplier Seth Kenny. They're going for everyone.
Yep.
In October, Hutchins' husband and son settled a wrongful death suit against Baldwin and the film's producers. The parties in the new suit weren't a part of the deal. You'd think that they would try. So did they try or not? That's pretty crazy. So Hutchins' sister says, I'd like those who are at fault to carry responsibility and not just someone, but that very someone who is truly responsible for this. I believe to let this go and leave this unpunished is unallowable. I like that. That's nice. Like, I mean, it's not nice. It's awful that this has occurred, right? But it's very firm with straight conviction.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever's at fault needs to carry responsibility, not just someone. So whoever is actually at fault, and that very someone who is truly responsible for this, we can't let this go. Love it. Good. Basically, say they're not going to settle by the sounds of it.
Does that sound like, they're kind of going the opposite direction of their husband?
It does sound like it. I mean, maybe they did try and settle with the parents and the sister as well, but they chose, no, we're going to take you full blown to court.
It depends on you have to remember insurance is involved in this. So I would imagine that whatever the insurance did, they were like, look, we can only cover one of these parties. Right? So we're going to cover the parties with the greatest claim. That would have been my.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Well, so it's interesting. So the new suit filed in Los Angeles Superior Court alleges battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress. That's a difficult one. Intentional infliction of, that's going to be a difficult one to prove, I think. Guys, thoughts? Intentional infliction of emotional distress. How can you prove intentional infliction?
No, I don't see
that's going to be the toughest one, and that's probably why the husband settled, to be honest with you. Because unless they really try to use like his interview or something like that as like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you're kind of stretching. As much as I don't even like Alec Baldwin, I mean, I don't remember him going out there and saying, well, this is all her fault for standing in the way, or something like that, like he didn't say anything about her.
Well, I was going to say, maybe in the interviews he did afterwards.
Well, that's what I was saying. Unless they try to bring that in, and even that is a stretch. They could. I'm not saying they couldn't get something out of that, because the whole point is, I suppose you're going to have to convince a jury of this, right? that what does this person deserve, or these people deserve, and how much, and for their suffering, basically. Yeah.
Quick reminder here for everybody: this is a civil case. The threshold or the bar is much lower, right? So you're more likely to get, when this goes through a jury and they get to instructions, it's going to be a lot looser than a criminal trial. So, and you're right. I think emotional distress amongst most of those things will be the one that'll be most difficult to prove. But again, let's say you get the criminal complaint resolved quickly, that could be used, to further press this issue, because if they do find that there was willful negligence on his behalf, then you might have a different conversation around this particular language. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they continue with the suit itself. It says negligence and loss of consortium, which recovers damages for relationships that are mutually dependent. Producers Ryan Smith, Langley Cheney, and basically all the producers, among others, were also named in the suit. Gloria Allred is the lawyer, though.
She's a terrible human being. But
she says the relationships for all of our clients have been damaged, and they won't be able to enjoy life in the same way as when Helena was alive.
True.
The family feels strongly that anyone responsible for her loss must be held responsible. I mean, this is all true. You can't
argue that.
Yeah, like you can't argue with it. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this one, because the other suits put against anyone else involved in lawsuits with Gloria Allred, they've all been dropped. They've not gone anywhere, because she's been involved in quite a lot of these lawsuits, actually. She was just sat there at Santa Fe going, "Oh, guys, I'll do your lawsuits." That's an awful thing to say, but you get my point. But it'll be interesting to see, because again, all of those other ones have been dropped, so it'll be interesting to see where this one goes. We shall see. We shall see. So we do have a super chat here from Mortem 009 for $5. Says Baldwin is indeed a negligent fool, since he worked with guns before in other movies: The Shadow, Miami Blues, The Juror, and Hunt for Red October, and also any of the Mission Impossible films. Wasn't he? Guns there as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's been on many sets with many guns and been through, I'm assuming, many trainings.
So. Which is so surprising that he would be so dumb in this instance. It's like he should have known better. I mean, even when I'm dealing with actual real firearms and not using blanks or anything like that, anytime I know a gun's clear and everything and I'm handing it to somebody, I still never even pointed at them.
Well, and you still maintain trigger discipline and all of those other things. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.